We have been on this long, fruitful journey together, and I'm grateful for your time. In this module, we'll start to tie it all together with a little stroll through the many ways as a trained advisor that you can now assist organic and transitioning field crop farmers. Before we jump into the specifics about your role, let's take a moment to get a sense from our focus farmers about what kinds of support they and other folks like them are looking for.
I didn't seek any technical assistance because there just wasn't any out there in our area, and it just wasn't an option. So we had to do a lot of this on our own. I think that I would have, for sure, to get somebody that maybe had a little more experience with other growers and knew the agronomy really well. That would have been taking a lot of the hardships out of what we were doing and learning.
Well, one, I guess the obvious one that comes up first is certification. It wasn't a big deal at all when I had a field or two. 4,000 acres is that's a lot.
Mainly, an agronomist would help me with the soil health, crop rotation. You know, some of the things that I struggle with where there's all these things kind of piling on you, and they can really help to alleviate some of that stress with their knowledge.
It's nice to have a sounding board, you know, and just someone I don't have to wonder who I'm going to call or make that call, you know, just hey, you know, what's your thought on this?
I would hire an organic agronomist in a heartbeat. I mean, agronomists they're worth their money, not only for their advice, but the amount of stress that it takes off the producer. And you kind of feel like you're in it with somebody else that has your best interest, where it's not like you're hiring an implement dealer or, an input dealer to come out and tell you what to do. They really have your bottom line in their mind at all times. And that's just a really relieving thing to have somebody on your side like that.
I guess at that point I'd just call them kind of organic agriculture consultants. You know, they a little bit of everything.
I've spent time with literally thousands of organic farmers over the years, as an organic inspector and as a farmer. And I've noticed some trends in areas where farmers could really use some help and are willing to pay for it. I've organized these services into two categories. The first, agronomic services. The second, business and certification services. We'll start with a rundown of the various agronomic services organic farmers could be looking for, and then cover the business and certification services in the next lesson. All right, let's get kicked off with transition planning. The first and one of the most needed services that farmers ask for is assistance planning out their transition. Those 36 months can be daunting, and for someone new to organics, it's almost enough just to call the whole thing off. There's the increased risk to account for, and many farmers new to transition don't even know what questions to ask, let alone what the answers might be. As organics has become more widely accepted and the number of certified operations grows, there's an increasing demand for transition advising services. Common transition planning services might include identifying a suitable crop rotation, calculating out the expected cost of transition specific to a farm, setting up a fertility and input sourcing strategy, and developing an overall marketing plan for those first years of certified production after transition has been complete. For folks watching who are already tied into NRCS, as an employee or TSP, technical service provider, the NRCS CAP 138 program is specifically designed to address natural resource concerns on farms that are interested in transitioning from conventional to organic. If you are also a qualified technical service provider with NRCS, you can offer CAP 138 planning assistance as part of your regular services. Beyond those specific services that I outlined, there are some other ways that we can support farmers. To put it bluntly, transition can be a scary time for farmers. It's uncharted territory with a sometimes steep and tiring learning curve, but it's also a time when a farmer could really use some moral support. Someone telling them that no, you're not going crazy, and yes, you're gonna get through this. Your ability to be that steady, positive, unflappable cheerleader and guide might be the biggest value you can actually provide to a farmer over those first couple of years. Soil sampling, testing, and fertility recommendations. Figuring out how to apply that standard laboratory soil test in a way that is appropriate for an organic farm can be a little tricky. Outsourcing the sampling, testing, and interpretation tasks to an expert is something I know a lot of organic farmers would really like to do. And once those recommendations come through, sorting it out and coming up with an idea of what we can achieve with good crop rotation and ecological means of farming production versus thinking about what inputs can we throw on there is something that's complicated and requires expertise. So that brings us to input sourcing. Organics is not about input substitution, but there is still a fair amount of sourcing that goes on. Things like manure and seed, inoculants for your legumes, and starter fertilizers are all purchased off-farm. Identifying reputable and effective products and connecting the farmers to them will be a huge help. Equipment and infrastructure. Transitioning to organic often means that we need to purchase or resuscitate some equipment and build a little more infrastructure. Think storage bins, old cultivation equipment, new weed control tech. Providing expert guidance on equipment options and sources, as well as counseling on appropriate infrastructure purchases, can mean the difference between an amazing investment and a discouraging loss. I know as someone who's transitioned a bunch of ground myself, I really wish I had an advisor who could have set me up for success, giving me some hints on what tillage equipment is the right thing to buy. How should I think about lining out my bin purchases? How should I finance that operation so that I know when I get through transition, I'm in a good position to really capitalize on my newfound status as a certified organic producer? Cover crop integration. Some farmers would like coaching on strategies for getting cover crops established and terminated effectively. You can offer your expertise in the many options for using cover crops to control weeds, suppress disease, protect against erosion, and all of the other benefits that we noted throughout the course. Seed selection. Organic farmers need very different qualities in their crop varieties. You can assist farmers in selecting the right seeds for their unique needs, be it disease resistance, early or late pollination, or protein specs. Locating certified organic seed that has the agronomic qualities the farmer needs can involve some legwork, and this is where you come in. Pest, disease, and weed scouting. We all know that conventional farmers can rely on their suppliers to give them some help scouting their fields and identifying what their problem pests are going to be. This service just does not exist yet in organics. And I know I, as an organic farmer, and other organic farmers would love to have a second pair of eyes watching over their fields and identifying problems before they become really, really insurmountable. Designing and managing on-farm trials. Earlier in this course, I gave a speech about snake oil. Can't stress enough, there's a lot of snake oil out there. Ineffective, expensive products that are constantly marketed to organic farmers. The best way to know if a product or seed variety is a good fit for a farm is to run a little on-farm trial. Behind me, you see these flags? Lots of little test plots. You can help devise and run trials to answer questions for a particular farm, and all the while grow your knowledge base and experience through collectively learned lessons. I sometimes think back to one of my favorite quotes, and it was from this southern Wisconsin farmer. He said, "The biggest problem with all these products out there is that, damn it, sometimes they work." His point is well taken. There are some solid products out there, but sorting the wheat from the chaff in this case can be tough. And that's an area where you can be a big help to the farmer. All right, so I've saved the best for last. Troubleshooting. It's so much easier to solve a problem or to survive a problem if you can identify it early and a group of folks can come up with a good way to get it taken care of. Now, being an on-call sounding board and resource, whether you know the answer or know where to find it, is another source of security and confidence for an organic grower. I know as a farmer, if I had someone offering me his services, I'd be jazzed. And I'd want them to be jazzed too, because we need each other. Many transitioning and organic farmers are eager for a knowledgeable ear that they can turn to mull over decisions and problems. In the next lesson, we'll round out this list with our second set, business and certification services.